Hey there, Stampers. It's Linda Schmidt with Stampin' with the Hound. Thanks for joining me today. I have by request, I had done a reel for this pop-up present fun fold last night, and I was going to do the video, but I just ran out of time, so I'm doing it today. But anyway, I've seen this like on YouTube, but it's always been in like centimeters, and so I had to get out my trusty little ruler and do some math yesterday, but I did. I figured out how to make it. So this is my version of it. You can adjust the width of these boxes, the height of the boxes, to fit, because right now this is fitting on a portrait style, meaning that the card is going to open the top part of it here. So it would be 4 1/4 by 11. It's an A2 size on it. And so I had done the cardstock for my little boxes, and you're basically just making like cubes, and then you're just stacking them on top of each other, and then they're attached to your card base. So on this one, because it is getting a little bit of weight with the cardstock and the bows and everything, you want to be don't go too crazy with your layers, just so that your card doesn't get too heavy for the mail. But what's cool is it folds flat like that, and it goes through the mail, not a problem. So super fun. I love it. Anyway, so I was quite proud of myself that I figured out the measurements. And hopefully the tutorial will be fairly simple for you to redo this yourself. So again, this was my original one that I had done. And then this morning, just so I could have another sample and then to do a practice for me as well, because this is only the second one I've made. I just used up some retired designer series paper and some cardstock. But again, this time I did decorate. So the boxes are still cardstock, but you can decorate also this front panel besides just doing the little lid, because if you look at it, I don't know if you can see this, the designer series paper overhangs, so it makes it look like it's a gift box. So the lid, this is always going to be a little bit wider than what your cardstock, what the box is. And then I just had a piece of scrap paper left over, and I was like, oh, I'll just decorate, the top or the front of the box. So you can also do that too with your scraps paper and stuff. So, and again, you would just measure the width of this and the length, and then just put your paper down for that. And then I added a little gift tag, as an option, and then of course just adding the ribbon and stuff. So you will need ribbon, you'll need some designer series paper, you'll need some cardstock, tear and tape, because we want to adhere that ribbon onto the box, and then also some glue dots to adhere your ribbon, and your Simply Score tool. And I think that is everything. Oh, and liquid glue works the best. So anyway, this is my other sample, and again, it's going to fold flat. And then this one, when you open it, I just kind of did a little stamping. This is from some retired stamp sets from last year. So, but anyway, isn't that fun? I love it. Super cute. All right, so we are going to get started. So as I said, we're going to do your cardstock base, and I'm using shaded spruce. So this is 4 1/4 by 11, and you just score it in half so that it is a portrait. So you just need one of those. And then I'm just decorating for the inside. I just did a 1/4 sheet of cardstock. So this is Whisper White, 4 by 5 1/4 for the inside. And then my front piece of my card, again, you can do cardstock, you can do vellum, you can do designer series paper, specialty paper, whatever you want. That's just a 1/4 sheet. And this is 4 by 5 1/4. And I am using the Elegant Pines designer series paper, which is in the 2025 holiday mini catalog. All right, now for your boxes, you're going to do 3 of them. So we're going to have the bottom box, the middle box, and the top box. Each one is a separate sheet of cardstock, and each one has a separate sheet of designer series paper. Now you can, if you want to have all of these be the same lid, you can do that. Otherwise, I'm just using up scraps. So mine are going to be, I think on this one I did 2 of the same. So for the top box, and I have my little, this is my little template, how I used it. So it's basically going to be a 1 1/2 wide and 3 1/2 inches long. And then we're going to score it on the long side at 1/2 inch, 1 1/2, 2, and 3. And we'll go over these when I'm scoring them. And again, so this is my little template. So when it comes together, this is where you're putting the glue, and it's making that little cube so that this now is where you attach the designer series paper. And then this is like the front of the box on the card on it. And then that just gets glued to the next box on there. So, and I will make directions and stuff, and I will do my best to get those uploaded to my Facebook Stamping with the VIP Hounds group page with the directions or with the measurements for all these pieces. So again, that's the cardstock top, the top box. And again, I'm just using cherry cobbler cardstock. Then for the lid, so when you look at this, knowing that this box is folding up, you know, like this way, your paper, when you go to cut it, you want to make sure that you're doing like the width of the box, and it's going to be a little bit wider than what your box is. So it gives it that lid look. So since my box was 1 1/2, I just went a little bit, I just went up 1/4 inch. So my designer series paper is 1 3/4 inches by 1 inches for my height. And then when we go to score, we're just scoring that so that it folds in half, or not in half. Well, yeah, it kind of folds in half on this one. All right, so that's the lid. And then your cardstock, the box. All right, so now for the middle box, your cardstock needs to be 2 1/4 by 5 1/4, and then we'll go over the scoring. The lid, again, needs to be a little bit wider than what the box was. So my lid is 2 1/2 by 1 1/2 inches. And then the bottom box needs to be 3 by 6 inches. And then our designer series paper needs to be a little bit wider. So that's going to be 3 1/4 by 2 inches. All right, so we are going to do all of our scoring. We'll start that first. Okay, so we're going to start with our bottom box, which is the largest one. So again, this was 3 inches by 6 inches. We're going to score on the long side. And our scoring will be at 1/2 inch. And this 1/2 inch tab, this is where you're always putting the glue when you go to assemble the cube, the box. Okay, so it's always going to be that 1/2 inch tab. Then we're going to go 2 inches, 3 1/4, and 4 3/4. And then these will all become basically valley folds as you bring it in, and you're forming your little cube to make your box. Okay, so that's the first one. And then we also need to take our lid, and this is just makes it easier when you go to fold it. So again, this was 3 1/4 by 2 inches, because remember it's going to go like this way. So we need to turn it so that I can get this score line. So on the short edge, you're going to score at 1 1/4. This larger section, when this is put together, this larger section gets glued on top of the box, and then this, where we scored it, folds down. So where that larger part is, that's where you're putting the glue. So that's going to be on that one. All right, now let's do our middle box. So the middle box, again, was 2 1/4 inches by 5 1/4. We're going to score on the long side, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch again, and this is where that glue is going to go. 2 inches, 2 7/8, which is just shy of 3, and then 4 3/8, which is just a little bit larger than 4 1/4. Okay, and then for our lid, again, because our box was 2 1/4, our lid is 2 1/2 inches wide by 1 1/2. So we need to score on the short edge at 7/8 of an inch. And this will be folded like so. So this is where, now on the opposite side, this is where we'll put the glue. This goes on the top of the box, and then this is the little lid. So when you look at it from the front, you're always going to see that shorter edge is your box lid on that. All right, so that's the middle one. And then our last one is our top box, which is the little tiny one. So again, this one was 1 1/2 inches wide by 3 1/2 inches long. And we're going to score see it better. There you go. We're going to always score, so we're going to do that 1/2 inch, and again, that's where the glue is going to go on that tab. So a 1/2 inch, 1 1/2, 2 inches, and 3. So now on this one, these are both going to be a 1/2 inch, so it really doesn't matter what side you end up putting the glue on. And then our lid, because our box was 1 3/4 inches wide, our box was 1 1/2. Our lid needs to be 1 3/4, so it's a little bit wider than the box itself. So this was 1 3/4 by 1, and then we're going to score at a 1/2 inch on that short edge. And then this folds down. You put glue on the back side, and then it's going to attach to the box like so that you see just that 1/2 inch flap on it. And that is it for the scoring, and yeah, that's it for the scoring. So let's go ahead and we'll put it together. We're going to assemble it. All right, so we'll start with the big box because it's a little bit easier. All right, so as I said, you're going to make valley folds on all of your score lines on the box. Then what I do, oops, I got a little crooked here. There we go. Now, when you go and put your glue on this tab here, you can then just take and score. So here's our first score line, here's our second score line. You're basically going to bring where that second score line is and bring that down to adhere it. So I'm putting glue just on this 1/2 inch tab, so it's face up. And then I'm bringing where that second score line is. So basically like you're folding it in half. And then I'm just going to burnish this just to hold it. And you really want to do liquid glue on these boxes. Okay, and then you just kind of form it into shape, and then again I like to kind of burnish it again just so that I get that nice cubed box. Now when you go to look at on the inside, let's see if the camera will pick it up. Yeah, see where the tab is here? That's going to be always the bottom of your card, so it'll fold in like this. So this is what's going to be the back side here, and then this will be your top, and this is the front of the box on it. But so always make sure that tab, when you go to assemble everything, that tab is like always on the bottom when you look at it. All right, and then our designer series paper, we had scored this at 1 1/4 inches, and so I'm just again going to do a valley fold. Okay, so again, this is the bottom of my box because there's that tab. Where this wider edge is, that's going to be attached to the top of the box, and it's going to overhang just a little bit, so you get that lid look when you go to assemble it. And then this will get adhered down as well, so that you're getting that look of a gift box on this little cube. So you can go ahead, we'll attach, well, I shall just do it now. So what I found was easiest, because you've got this designer series paper, it's being like, it's folding and it has to move. Keep it flat when you go to adhere it, making sure, and sometimes I work from the back side just because it's a little bit easier, where I can see the overhang that I need, like on my so it's centered. And again, this is going to come in like this. So we're going to put glue on the top. And again, we're going to glue where that larger section was. That's going to go right on top. And again, you're just kind of eyeballing it to make sure. And again, this is where I kind of go from the back end, so I can kind of see that I'm even before I press really hard. Okay, so then I'm going to burnish that on. So now it's attached to the top of my box. Now this flap, you want to bring this down, but again, keep this flat, lift this up, and add glue to it. And then bring it back into shape. Oops, sorry, I didn't hold. Give it a chance to adhere, and then bring it into shape. And then here's where you can then kind of go it, kind of play with it, just to make sure that there isn't any wrinkles. But I found it was just easier if you keep it flat when you're attaching it, so that you don't get the little ripples in your designer series paper, because it has to bend over that cardstock. Okay, so there is our bottom box. Cute. All right, so now let's do our middle one. So again, we're going to fold, valley fold on all of our score lines. Okay, where that 1/2 inch tab is, have that come down. Then you're going to take, here's 1 score line, 2 score line. On that second score line, you'll then just close this. So put your glue here. And then at that second score line, just fold it down, give it a burnish, making sure it's held in place. And then I usually, again, kind of move it the other way just to get that nice cube shape. And again, looking where that tab is, that's our bottom. So when I go to put my designer series paper, it's going to go this way. Okay, so where that larger section was, you'll put glue on that. And again, there's my bottom. I'm just going to squish this down, and I'm just going to adhere this to that shorter or the narrower section of the top of the box here. And then again, I just kind of give it an eyeball just to make sure. Move this over just a titch. So it's right on the edge. And I just kind of, I still need to come over. I'm at a bad angle here. Yeah, that's better. So then I just make sure that I've got that even overhang. Okay, and then we'll just give that a burnish. So now it's attached to just the top part of the box. This needs to come down and be glued. Again, keep the box flat. Lift this up, add a little bit of glue in that center part. Bring it down, give it a burnish. Make sure it's adhered. And then fold it back up to get your cube. And there is your middle box. Again, the lid is going to be wider than the box. Okay, so that's the middle one. Just make sure you don't have any glue overhanging, because you don't want it to be glued shut, basically, flat when you have it down. Okay, there's the middle one. All right, and then our top box, again, same thing. Fold on all of your score lines, valley folds. Now, this one has 1/2-inch tabs on either side, so it doesn't matter what side you put the glue on. You're still going to do the same concept where you're folding in on that second score line to close it shut. So we're going to put glue on one of the 1/2-inch tabs, and then at that second score line, just fold this in half, give it a burnish, seal it, and then I just open it, fold it the other way, another burnish, just to get that nice good cube. So there's your top box. Now on here, because these are both the same, where these are both kind of layered, that's your bottom of your box. Okay, so our designer series paper, this one was 1 3/4 inches wide by 1 inches long. And again, this was just folded in half basically, because on this one, you're just going to attach the top to the 1/2-inch section of the box, and then this will come down to make your lid. So same thing, we're just going to put glue on the top, and then just depending on what you want to see on your designer series paper. So again, I like to kind of keep it held flat, and then I work with it laying flat, making sure that this is centered. You know, I got my little edges on both sides. So there's our top part of the box attached. Now we need to bring this down and glue it. So again, I'm just going to put, excuse me, a little bit of glue. And then while it's flat, I'll adhere it. And then bringing this back into shape. Whoops, see, I didn't have enough glue. Put a little bit more on there. Making sure that's dry and adhered. And there you go. And there is the top box. So now we have all 3 of our boxes. So when we go to adhere it, you want to make sure that when you're gluing these, that you're keeping this back edge flush when you go to assemble them, because that's what's going to be attached to the front of the card. So what I found, let's do our ribbon though first, because I do like to add the ribbon. And this is optional. You don't have to do the ribbon, but I think it just kind of finishes the card. And all of us have tons of ribbon that we need to use up. I am very guilty of that. So I have some retired ribbon from last year's holiday catalog. It's a little cherry cobbler with a little bit of gold edging, but we're going to use it up. Use what you have, right? So I like using some tear and tape. And this is actually some really narrow tear and tape. I think I just got it off of Amazon. So it works pretty slick. So when you are, so here's our bottom of our box, because that's got the seam. You're going to have, because this is going to kind of show when you put it on your card. So you are going to put ribbon on the bottom of the box, the front of the box, and the top of the box. It's going to run on 3 edges, the 3 sides of the box. So knowing that, I'm just going to find the center. So this was 3 inches. So our center will be at 1.5. And I just put a little pencil mark here just so I can kind of see. And then that way, so this is my bottom of my box right now. I'm just going to run tear and tape, and I'm going to go over the edge just a little bit, just because it's easier for me to just trim it afterwards. All right, so, and then we need to run it across the top, just making sure you're straight, which I really need to be lined up on my grid line here. And then I go a little bit past it and then just tear this off. And again, I'll just tape that down, because then this is like the back of the box. That's going to be glued to the card front. So you're going to have tape running from the bottom to the front to the top, and then just a little bit over, just holding it in place. And then you'll do that on each of your boxes. So if it's easier, sometimes if you want to have them all lined up so that you know you're getting, you know, them centered. But again, I just kind of measure the width of it and then I just mark it. So this one was 1 1/4. So we'll do 1 1/8 is our center. And again, this is the top, this is the front, this is the bottom. So we'll start with that tape running. Yeah, sorry for the laundry in the background. It's Saturday here, so it's laundry day. And I gotta get my Christmas cards in the mail. Oh gosh, I mean, I have them pretty much done. I just need to get them in the mail. I swear, this, like, well, everything has just gone by so fast. I'm so not ready for the holiday. We haven't decorated yet. Isn't that horrible? I don't even have a tree up yet. Not enough hours in the day. All right, so now bottom of the box, front of the box, and the top. It's got the tape on it. All right, and then our last little one. Again, this was 1 1/2, so we're just gonna mark right in the middle. 3/4. And then again, this is going to be the bottom of the box. Front of the box, turn it over. The top of the box. Oops, I got off a little bit here. And then just tearing it just a little bit on the back there. That in place. And again, this is like double-sided, really narrow tear and tape. Okay, so now all of those are attached. So now we just need to peel it off and then add our ribbon. Where did okay, I just need my little pick tool to peel off this backing. And then for the ribbon, I just, you know, basically I'm leaving it on the spool, and then I'm just kind of working, knowing that this is the bottom. And again, I'll trim this later. I'm just wanting it to be attached to that tape. So I'm just running it along the edge, through the top, and then I just give it a little snip. And again, these will just be attached on the back side, because this is all going to get glued to the, this is where you're going to put all your glue, and that's what attaches to the card. So there it is. There's your little box with part of the ribbon on it. So that's the top one. And then we'll do our middle one. So again, we'll take off this backing on the tear and tape. And then again, I'm just starting at the bottom and working, or the back side, I should say, and then the bottom of the box, front of the box, and the top of the box. And then just go whatever, you know, snip it. Just making sure that that's all held in place. And if you don't have the narrow tear and tape, then I would recommend just wrapping the ribbon, you know, all the way around and then adhering it in the back, because again, you're not going to see, you won't see this, but that's another way of securing your ribbon if you don't have this narrow tear and tape. All right, and then our bottom box, same thing. We'll take off the backing. And then with our ribbon, we'll start at the basically the bottom of the box. Go to the front, to the top, and give it a snip, and again, that'll just get attached and adhered. And you go to assemble them all together. All right, so that's the ribbon. And I'll do my bow at the end here once I get everything assembled. Okay, so now we want to adhere our boxes together. And I found it was just easier to do this before you put it on the card. So again, you want these so that the backs are flush with each other and of course centered. Okay, so I'm going to start this is kind of the putsy part because you're just kind of making sure that they're centered, that you know your ribbons align. All right, so we're going to put glue. So we're taking our middle box, we're going to attach the middle box onto the bottom box. So on the bottom of your box, you're going to add the glue. And again, I would do the liquid glue here versus any type of tape because it's stronger. And then it has to be flush with the edge of that bottom box, the backing. Making sure your ribbon pieces are lined up and it's centered. It looks pretty good before I press really hard on it. So then I just kind of give it a little pinch. And then when I close it flat, I then take my bone folder and then just kind of press in there just to make sure that it's keeping that all held in place. Okay, so there's, see how those are flush on it. Okay, so that is the middle box attached. And then we want to, looks like I got a little crooked here on my ribbon. I just want to pick this up really quick. See if I can get that centered a little bit better. There we go. All right, now our top box, this one is going to get attached onto it. So we're going to put glue on the bottom. And then again, making sure you're attaching this so that it is flush with the back of the box and you're somewhat centered before you give it a really hard press to adhere the boxes together. All right, so then I just kind of close it, give it a little bit of a burnish just to kind of hold that glue in place. That's attached, that's attached. Okay, so now you have your boxes all attached. They're flush in the back. You're somewhat centered, stacked up. That's the best that you can do. All right, now this, then, all of these boxes need to be attached to your card. So let's get out our card base. So again, we had that mat, which was 4 by 5 1/4. Our card base was 4 1/4 by 11, folded in half. So I'm just going to adhere this onto the front of my card. If I can get my adhesive to work. I just put a new thing on it. This is why I struggle with tape adhesive. It's like a love-hate relationship. That's why I always like liquid glue. All right. Then let's see here. Oh no, you can probably hear the pitter-patter of feet above me. I'm in my craft room's in the basement, and so Jeff is getting ready to take Ezra and her little dog, the little Chowini that we dog sit on the weekends. He's a Wally. So a Greyhound and a little Chihuahua walking together. It's pretty comical. But it is, winter has arrived in Minnesota. Oh my gosh, it's been so cold. It's been below 0 already. I'm like, ooh, it's gonna be a long winter. All right, so there is that attached. Now, our boxes. So when I go to do this, adhering it, I know that I'm like folding mine up when I go to, you know, close it. I'm kind of shifting the boxes upward, okay? So knowing that, that's kind of like when you're looking at how to center it, you know, because you don't want it all the way on the bottom, you know, because that, I mean, you could, but I like to have it up a little bit on the card. I mean, you can put it flush if you wanted to. You could put it flush at the bottom. I mean, it's totally up to you, but I like to have mine somewhat centered, so when it's open, it looks like it's centered on the card for the most part. All right, so all you're going to do is you're going to flip this over, and on all these backs of the boxes, you're adding glue. And again, this is where you really want that liquid glue to keep this adhered onto your card front. All right, and then I may have to stand to do this. Just kind of looking at it. So again, it's just kind of a, don't press really hard. I'm going to bring this down just a touch. So once you're happy with where that's at, then go ahead, bring your, you know, basically I just kind of use my bone folder just to press that cardstock onto the front of the card. And again, when it closes, it'll go flat that way. And then it just shifts it. Yeah, see, it's not, I gotta, so sometimes you have to hold it in place for a little bit just to make sure that this glue dries and that your boxes are adhered. Okay, so that, just checking to see, maybe do I need a little bit more glue? Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, so now they're attached to your card front. And then I just like to take a little bit of ribbon and tie a bow. And then I just adhere that to the front of that top box, or you can put it on the middle, wherever you wanna do it. So let's see here. I usually like to double up my ribbon. So I keep it on the spool all the time. So I'm just basically doubling it up. And then I'm gonna make a bow. Oops. And then where this other loop is, I just cut that. Now I've got my tails on my ribbon. And then you just kind of futz with it until you get it however, you know, loopy your bows you want them to be. Or you just forgo the, you know, the bow if you're not a bow person. All right, and then now I trim my ribbon ends. And we'll put a few glue dots on the back of this to adhere it to the front of the card. Let's see, where are they? Oh, they're there. Okay, so on the back side, we'll just add a few glue dots. And then I'm just putting that right on the top box, like so, and then you can kind of pull out your, or easier said than done. Yeah, my nails are too short right now. You can't grab it. No, I'll futz with that later. Okay, and then let's add, just to finish this off, I'm going to add, I had already die cut and stamped and embossed this. And the saying is from To a Very Special Someone, which is from the Branching Out stamp set and dies, which are on the, I think these are on sale right now, the last chance. So online, so make sure you check that out. So here, so I'm not doing a tag. I was just going to kind of attach this onto the front of the box on this bottom one. And I'm thinking, I wonder how bulky am I? Yeah, I better just glue this. So I'll just put a little bit of glue. I don't want glue on the edge because this is kind of, it overhangs the box. I'm just kind of putting it right here in the middle. And then, and this is optional, you don't have to. And I think I'll just kind of bring it down this way. Like so. Make sure that's glued on. And then just to finish this off, because we always have to have a little bit of bling. Where's my pick tool? These are just some low profile dots, which I like these because they don't bulk up your card too much. Just for a little bit of bling. And then again, the inside of your cardstock, that's going to get attached in there. Decorate that however you want. But anyway, that is the Pop-Up Presents Fun Fold for your holiday cards that you can fold flat and mail to your special someone. Anyway, thanks again for watching. This is probably, I won't know if I'll have time to do another video or anything with the holiday season because I've got to get some scrapbooking done and some other, get my tree up and decorate for Christmas. So anyway, thanks for watching. Again, I will get these measurements and the basically the little templates and stuff. I'll get these uploaded to my Facebook, Stampin' with the VIP Hounds, later this weekend, so you can check that out if you haven't joined our group, my group. I would love to have you join us. And anyway, I hope you have a great and creative day, and thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.